Hello class. It was pointed out to me that there was one section that we did not cover that would help you with the project. And so I'm going to cover that section right now. Now after I cover this section, you all should be able to apply this to whatever problem this relates to on your project. So we have here 3.11 applications of radical functions. Section 1, finding the square root model to fit data. We will use a function of the form f of x is equal to a times the square root of x plus b as our square root model. And b is equal to your y-intercept, just to let you all know. It says find a square root function that has graph containing the 2.06 and 412. So we already know what b is. B is equal to 6 because this is a y-intercept here. So now what we could do is take this other point here and put it into this function to find out what our answer is, or find out what our equation is actually. So what we would do here, we would have f, the x value here is 4, is equal to a times the square root of 4 plus 6. Now we know the square root of 4 is 2 times a is 2a plus 6. Now, since we know x is 4, and then we know y is 12 because that's given to us here. So we can set all of this equal to 12. So we will subtract 6 on both sides, and 6 is equal to 2 times a. Divide each side by 2, and 3 is equal to a. So our formula would be f of x is equal to 3 times the square root of x plus 6. This is our formula here. Now we're going to utilize this formula most likely for the next problem, or maybe not. Let's take a look at this next problem. It says find a square root function that has graph containing the 2 points 1, 7 and 9, 11. So what we would do is this here. We're still in the process of finding the formulas to get used to this. So we will have 7, which right here is your y, and we will set it equal to a times the square root of x is 1 plus b. And then here, because we're doing it for both of these points here, we have 11 for y is equal to a times the square root of 9, that's x, plus b. So, what this will lead us to, this will lead us to 7 is equal to a plus b. And this will lead us to 11 is equal to 3a plus b. Because remember, the square root of 9 is 3. Now we have these two equations. This is basically a system of equations which we have solved for before. So what we need to do is solve for one of these variables. I would say this, I would say let's get rid of the b and solve for a. So I will multiply the top by negative 1. So then we will have, this will lead to negative 7 is equal to negative a minus b. And this leads to 11 is equal to 3a plus b. Now the b's will simplify out. Negative a plus 3a is 2a. And negative 7 plus 11 is 4. We divide each side by 2. And 2 is equal to a. So we know what a is. So we could go back to one of these original equations and find out what b is. So we could go back to the f of x is equal to a times the square root of x plus b. Now we could pick one of these 2 points. It doesn't matter which one you pick. I probably would pick the 1 and 7 because it's smaller numbers. So 7 would be our y. And then a is 2. X would be our 1 plus b. So now we have 7 is equal to the square root of 1 is 1 times 2 is 2 plus b. So we will subtract 2 on both sides. And 5 is equal to b. So now our final answer, or therefore our final equation would be f of x is equal to 2 times the square root of x plus 5. Now, we move on to the next page. Now it says, consider the following data table. Now we have our years and we have the number of American Idol viewers. Okay, for A it says, find a square root model for this data and verify that it fits the data well. Alright, so now we're going to assume that everything is since 2000, even though it's not stated here. So we know we're going to make this T. This would be 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 to reflect since 2000. Okay, so now we could take 2 points. I would take 2 and 12, and then I would take maybe 4 and 25, just to get exact numbers. Now we know that the Y values are in millions, and the T value or X value is the number of years since 2000. So now it says find a square root model for this data and verify that it fits the data well. So we're going to do what we just did in problem number 2 for problem number 3. So we will have our equation. So our Y value is 12 is equal to A times the square root, X would be 2 plus B. And then we will have 25 is equal to A times the square root of 4 plus B. Now, we know here that this is just going to lead to what we already had. 12 is equal to A times the square root of 2 plus B. Now here, this is going to lead to 25 is equal to 2A plus B. Now again, we'll decide which one of these variables we want to get rid of. I probably would get rid of the B because that would be the easier thing to get rid of. So what I would do here, I will multiply this top value by -1, or we could have did the bottom one, and this will leave us to -12 is equal to. Now let's do one thing before we continue. Since we know we're going to be left with the square root of 2, let's round this to 3 decimal places. So we can make this the square root of 2. Let me pull up the calculator here. Pull it over here. Alright, well that's fine. Okay, we can put in the square root of 2. The square root of 2, we're around to 3 decimal places. So that will give us -12 is equal to, and you see it'd be 1.414. So it'd be 1.414A plus B. And this leads to here, we had 25. Well, actually it should be. I'm sorry, these both should be negative. Remember, we multiply by -1. Okay, so this is a -1.414. Okay, and then this is equal to still be 2A plus B. Now these B's will simplify each other out. -12 plus 25 is 13. So now we will have, so this would be a -1.414. So -1.414 plus 2. And that gives us 0.586. And don't forget the A. And then we would divide each side by 0.586. And we could put that in our calculator. So we have 13 divided by 0.586. And that gives us, if we round this to 3 decimal places like we did here, it'll be 22.184. So that would leave us 22.184 22.184, and that would equal to A. Now we have to go back into the original equation and substitute this value in for A. So we could take one of the ordered pairs. Matter of fact, let me move this up a little bit. So it'd be 22.18. Well, let me put it under here. Let's do everything proper. So we have 22.184 is equal to A. So now we would do the formula. So we know the formula is, well, so before we do the formula, we know we have to pick one of these ordered pairs. So the ordered pair I would pick is 212. And then we also have that A is equal to 22.184. So now we would have the formula of f of x is equal to A times the square root of x plus b. Now, we know f of x is the same as y, so we'll put 12 in for f of x. A is 22.184. We don't know what x is. Well, we do know what x is. X is 2. So we'll substitute in 2 for x. And then we will have plus b. Now, what we need to do next here, because we know we're solving for b, we would have 12 is equal to, we would take our calculator and take 22.184 and multiply it by the square root of 2. And that gives us, if we round to 3 decimal places, 31.373 plus b. Now we have to subtract the 31.373 on both sides. Now we will put this in our calculator. So we'll have 12 minus 31.373. And that will give us a negative 19.373. So it'll be a negative 19.373 is equal to b, because we know these will simplify out. So now that we have b and a, we can write out our formula. Our formula would be f of x is equal to 22.184 times the square root of x minus 19.373. Okay, so class, our final answer is f of x equals 22.184 times the square root of x minus 19.373. So we're supposed to take this formula here and use that model to predict when the number of viewers will reach 38 million. So this 38 million is going to replace f of x. So it'll be 38 is equal to, it equals to 22.184 times the square root of x minus 19.373. So we have to add 19.373 on both sides. And this will give us here 57.373 is equal to 22.184 times the square root of x. Now we will divide each side by 22.184. That would give us, when we take our calculator, so after we type this in our calculator, round it to 3 decimal places, it'll be 2.586 is equal to x. Now we got to get rid of this square root off of the x, so we square both sides. And our final answer will be 6.687. So that means that in 2006, there will be 38 million viewers of American Idol. And that is the final answer.